Assistant Minister for Social Services and Prevention of Family Violence.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I'm very pleased to be speaking today about our cost of living measures and how important it is for all Australians. And I want to start, Deputy Speaker, by talking about the situation when we did come into government. And we knew then that when we came into government that inflation was high and rising, real wages were falling, living standards were declining and people were going backwards. That was the reality. But under our responsible economic management, over those past few years, we now see inflation is almost a third of what it was at the election is falling. Real wages are growing again. Living standards are rising again. And we've recorded the lowest average unemployment rate for any government in 50 years. We've also overseen the creation of more than 1.1 million jobs, the most jobs created on a record in any parliamentary term. So our economic plan is all about helping Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn and addressing many of those cost of living pressures. Now, there is a whole range of them, and I'd like to run through them, Deputy Speaker. And certainly when I'm out in my electorate, door knocking at listening posts, people raise also how a lot of these measures have assisted them. Our tax cuts for every taxpayer. Now, in my electorate, that's over 70,000 people, has made a huge difference. Now, as I say, we know people are doing it tough. That's why these measures are important. The energy bill relief for every household, the $300, helps so many, particularly a lot of older Australians in my area on the New South Wales North Coast. And of course, cheaper childcare, so vitally important for families. Cheaper medicines, again, so important for everyone, and particularly older Australians. And fee-free TAFE, what a game changer that has been across the nation as well. And reducing HECS debts. So all of those measures, so vitally important. And those wage increases for aged care workers and childcare workers as well. I'm hearing every day from people in my area what a difference that makes. Now, of course, all these measures were opposed by the Liberals and Nationals, which is just appalling. And I don't know how they face people and their electorates or their candidates do when they're talking about the cost of living. Are they honest and do they tell them that they actually opposed every one of our cost of living measures, measures that are helping Australians every single day? Because what we do know is with the Liberals and Nationals, they have a lot of secret cuts and secret costs as well. And we certainly would hope we might hear about some of those today, but I don't know that we will. They don't seem to want to reveal too much of it. And we know the biggest threat to household budgets is indeed the cuts that the Liberals and Nationals would make. About $7,200 for each household will be devastating. But we do know a little bit about some of the expenditure they want to have, the $600 billion on their nuclear power madness, which is just going to result in massive increases to power prices. And I can tell you people in my electorate are not interested in the Liberals and Nationals plan. We've heard many times, we heard all today about their, the $10 billion they want to spend on the long lunches for bosses. That's their absolute priority. But what we don't hear about, Deputy Speaker, is the secret cuts. So we know there's that $350 billion they say what they want to make in cuts. Well, what I'd like to know, and people in my electorate, and indeed I know people throughout the nation would like to know, where is that coming from? Where are those cuts going to be? Will it be in aged pensions? Will it be in Medicare? Will it be veterans' pensions as well? We'd all like to know. People are very, very concerned. Will it be further cuts to education? Will it be fee-free TAFE? We know they've got form across the board for a lot of these cuts, and there's a real concern in the community when it comes to that's exactly what they would see again with the Liberals and Nationals in government. And as I say, in my electorate, it comes up all the time. Where will those cuts be? Will they be right across the board? And particularly, tax cuts is something that's so vitally important. Like I said, more than 70,000 people in my electorate have benefited from that. Fee-free TAFE. I know across the country, at least 600,000 people have been able to access fee-free TAFE. Importantly, to access all of that education, access to jobs, and it's so important to be training our workforce for the future. And in my region, 5,000 people in a regional area, that is huge. And every day people tell me the difference that fee-free TAFE has made in their lives as well. Again, all opposed by the Liberals and Nationals. The other issue that people do raise with me are their concerns about when the opposition leader was, in fact, the health minister. And this is something that comes up all the time because it's a pretty shambolic record when we have a look at it. We know when the opposition leader was the health minister, we know that he froze those Medicare rebates for years. 4 years. It was incredibly damaging. And, of course, he did want to have that GP tax in place. I remember I was here when he was talking about how important it was, and my community certainly fought back in relation to that. And, of course, he cut $50 billion from public hospitals. And that is just horrendous right across the board. And on top of all that, he said that there were too many free Medicare services. That's what he thinks. That's what the Liberals and Nationals think. They've got form when it comes to cutting Medicare and cutting health services. And our government has worked extremely hard in rebuilding Medicare as well, in terms of tripling the bulk billing rate, putting a lot more funding into our public hospitals. And it takes a long time. 10 years of cuts and neglect to our health system has really been devastating. But people remember that. People remember when the opposition leader was health minister. And so the fact is, there really is going to be a very clear choice at the next election, a choice between building Australia's future with the Labor government or taking us backwards with the Liberals and Nationals. And it's only going to be a vote for Labor that will stop the opposition leader from becoming Prime Minister and stopping the Liberals and Nationals from getting into power. They will take us backwards and people will be worse off. We certainly know that's the case. And when I'm out and about talking and listening to the community, as I say, all these cost of living measures make such a big difference. And we're very proud also, as a government, as MPs, of listening to our community about what concerns they have. And I would like to add one of my local issues. It has been a very, very big concern that we addressed last week. The Prime Minister was up in my electorate on the Friday. We made a really important announcement that the re-election of an Albanese Labor Government would deliver $3 million for our North Coast Crime Prevention Infrastructure Action Plan. And really good to have that plan in place. And again, this is about listening to the community, and Labor government's addressing these concerns. We've seen an increase in youth crime in our area, and of course the community are very, very concerned about that, as am I. As a former police officer, community safety is my top priority, and right across the area people raise those concerns. I do note, of course, the New South Wales government has been very proactive. We've had 17 new police recruits to our region, and they've recently brought in stronger youth offender bail laws and also Jack's Law as well in terms of tackling knife crime. But we always need to have a whole suite of measures, and this announcement that we made, it's $1 million for each council, Tweed, Ballina and Byron Council, to be able to install crime infrastructure measures, whether it's CCTV, lighting, landscaping. The councils can make that decision. And I really want to thank all the community that advocated for this, particularly the Ballina Mayor, Sharon Cadwallader, and I also want to acknowledge Alison Vickery, who led the community group, and to all those people that filled out my crime survey. I was very pleased to be announcing this commitment from a re-elected Albanese Labor government. But it's about listening to the community and the concerns they have. And we've done that, as we do every day, in terms of listening to people in our region about addressing those cost of living measures. And of course on Sunday we did see an incredibly good announcement in terms of our investment in women's health. And that is such an important investment in terms of such really good work that's been done. And the absolute strengthening of Medicare with more than $570 million to deliver more choice, lower cost and better health care for women. And there's been a really positive response in my area. And look what it includes: the first PBS listing for new oral contraceptive pills in more than 30 years. More choice, lower costs and better access to long-term contraceptives with larger Medicare payments and more bulk billing for IUDs and birth control implants, saving around 300,000 women a year, up to $400 in out-of-pocket costs, more Medicare support for women experiencing menopause, and the first PBS listing for new menopausal hormone therapies in over 20 years. This has been incredibly important for women right across the nation. As part of that package too, more endometriosis and pelvic pain clinics treating more conditions, and also contraceptives and treatment for uncomplicated UTIs directly from pharmacies, another great initiative. Again, this is about Labor listening to the community acting on the concerns that the community have and delivering real reforms. And this is one certainly is needed, and I know there's been a really positive response right across the country in terms of our investment in women's health. And we're really proud to keep delivering all of our cost of living relief. It has made a huge difference, and certainly moving forward, it is only Labor that will take Australia forwards. And of course, voting for the Liberals and Nationals just takes us backwards. And we know that's exactly what they would do, because they opposed every one of our single cost of living measures that are so vitally important at this time.